Hello and welcome to another tutorial from MoICT. Today we're going to look at for loops inside of Windows Form. So the loop that we're interested in particularly is the for each loop that goes through each of the controls that's available. So first of all, let's go and start a new project. You can go to start new project on the top, and then we can take a name this one for each loop inside Windows Form. Okay. So for each loops are very useful because when you are designing a game, you might have more than one character, obviously, more than one. Well, you'll have one character, but you'll have more than one enemy or objects that character is interacting with. So first of all, those components that you're using there might be like different components. So you can have, majority of the time, the one that we use in MoICT are picture boxes for Windows Form, but you might have like other ones that you might want to control through the coding instead of manually going through and changing each of them that you need to change. So let's take a look at how to do this programmatically, and from here we're going to build up on how to make fully fledged games on Windows Form. Alright, so first of all, I just resized the window to make it slightly bigger so we can see what we are working with, and let's go change the title of the form to for each loop example project MoICT. Alright, so as usual, the source code will be available on the website, so hopefully you guys go there and find this tutorial useful. So let's first of all go and add a couple of picture boxes. So I'm going to add 1, 2. So the way I'm doing this is I'm holding the control button, and when you have something selected like this and when you drag it, it automatically makes a copy of it. So I'm just going to add like 6 different picture boxes here. We're not going to do anything to the background or anything like that at the moment, but what we are interested in is we want to run a loop in the C# code that sort of identifies them and colors them to whatever the specification we want to give it to at that time. What we'll do is we'll add 2 labels there as well. Right, so let's change the labels text so you can see it better on the screen. So if I make it slightly bigger, right, and we'll also add 2 button. So what I want to do is I want to make the button slightly bigger as well. Okay, so right now in this form we have got 6 picture boxes, 2 labels, and 2 buttons. So let's go right ahead and try and run a for loop. So by default, obviously these are the code that comes with it. What we're interested in is obviously we want to just run a simple for loop. So we'll just make a empty function here to say public void run loop, and then that's it. So this function here is just something that we made. It's not part of the system or anything like that, so we can just run it, and then we need to call it right in the end, and I'll show you how to do that. A function is basically like a group of instructions that the program will have to run. So if whenever we call this, whatever is inside of it will run line by line. So in C# there it allows us to sort of collect information on what's being used inside of this form, and then how to make it interact. So first of all, we'll go here and say for each. Right, so the for each loop will look through every component inside of this. So we can say here control X in this dot controls. Right, so what it's doing is it's looking for a control, so which is like a component, right, in this dot control. So it's all of the components that we have added. Now this variable here is a local variable that's just used for this loop, so we can identify anything that's inside of it. So when it goes through each of the objects, it will then store it inside of this variable. What that can do is that allows us then identify those components as we need them. So let's say, for example, inside of here, say control if, I think we'll run this first. So say x.backColor equals color.red. Okay, so if we run this function now, so we need to run this to, let's try and start this now. So nothing has happened from where we were, and we can't see anything. The reason is because we haven't actually run the function. So to run the function, we need to go here and say, because this is the constructor for the app, right? So it's the class is called form1. So every class comes with a constructor. So this constructor right now is initializing the component, which means that that's the default function, and that's what sort of creating all of the picture boxes and labels and all that stuff on the form. So we can go right under here. Since it's the first one to run, we can just run it from inside of it. So if we go here now, you'll see that everything sort of goes back color to red. So what we want to do is, we don't want everything to go red. We want to identify specific ones, and then we also want to then change the colors accordingly, so that way we have got more control on the system, right? So if we delete that for now, so here we can do a if statement. So let's see, say if X is a button, right? So we can say if X is a button. So when it's looking through all the components, if it finds a button on the screen, then we can do this with this. So we can say x.backColor here equal to color.black, and then we can also say x.foreColor equals color.white. So we want the buttons to have a black background and the text inside the button, which is identified with the foreColor, to have a white background, right? So now if we say here if X is label, so now remember, this is not the label, the same label as label 1. This is the label class. So it represents standard Windows label. So if you just hover over, it will tell you what it is. So by using the capital letters, we're actually not calling the specific one. So right now we have got label 1 and stuff like that, right? That's not what we're calling. We're calling all of them together. So this is why we're using the capital, and then the color will change as well. So let's go here and say x.foreColor in this case is equals to color.purple. Okay. So these are the two that we have. Now we need to figure out what to do with the picture boxes. So if X is picture box, like this, and then we can say x.backColor equals color.plum. So it kind of pops out on the screen a little bit. So if you run this now, as you can see, so we have got the picture boxes in plum color, black and white buttons, and then purple labels. Right, so all of this is happening through the controls at the moment. So we can run one simple loop, and it will simply go through every single thing that we need it to go through, and change or interact with it in any way that we want it to, right? So let's say, for example, right now I want this row of picture boxes to be plum, and this row of picture boxes to be like another color. So what I can do here is I can select all of them, and I can identify them by using tags. So if I go here, tag, and say, for example, group 2, right? And that could be group 1. Okay, so if I have group 2 and group 1, right, so right now we are identifying all the picture boxes. So but if we also go here and say and, let's say string, we are looking for a string here. So x.tag is equals to group 1. So that would be purple, sorry, that would be plum, and then we can say X is picture box again. Okay, so we have identified the we have tagged the picture boxes, and then we are identifying them inside of here using the group 1 tag, right? And then anything that identifies as a group 1 tag will be a plum background, and anything that identifies with group 2 background will have a maroon background. So if we run this now, there you have it. So these 3 here are group 1 and these 3 here are group 2. So we don't just have the control of selecting all of them, we also can nitpick on a few other objects inside a for each loop, and we can start by identifying them and applying different sort of thing. This kind of thing becomes very useful when you're doing game development, especially because you might have lots of characters being spawned and destroyed simultaneously. So it's an easier way for us to use a for each loop inside the timer and then identify them by using the tags. So you can let's say you want to jump on a platform, you can have that platform tag and then you can jump on it if you need to, and also if it's an enemy, then also you can tag it with the enemy tag and then interact with it that way. Okay, so just the last thing is we are running like 1, 2, 3, 4 different if statements inside the for each loop, right? So at the moment it's only running once because this function here only runs once the form loads. But if we wanted this to run each frame, we would have to use it inside the timer. So as usual, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. I will come back with another tutorial and see you on the next one.